And here we go again. Those guys there just having them a block party on that pot. What's up, Lazy Dog fam? Hope all you are having an awesome day. It is Thursday, October 23rd here in South Georgia. And it's been a little while since I've given you an update on all of our cowpeas we have growing here behind me. So I figured today was a good day to do that now that they're all producing some peas. We'll take a look at those, see how they're doing, and see what happens when we don't spray them. See how some varieties get attacked by the pests a little more than others. So back in the late summer, I want to say it was late August, we planted 4 different varieties of cowpeas. We didn't plant them on the exact same day. We kind of staggered the planting a little bit, but we planted them all within a couple weeks of each other. So we planted 3 varieties that we actually carry on our site: the cowpea cowpea, the Ozark razorback, and the Tennessee purple pea. Then we also planted some zipper peas that we got from the local feed and seed store because we really like the way those taste and wanted to grow some more of those. And now that they're all producing peas at the same time, let's go take a look at all of them and see how they're doing. Now keep in mind, as I said earlier, I haven't sprayed these peas with anything. That's why you're going to see some fungal issues. You're going to see some insect damage on some of these, and I'll also show you it's worse on some varieties than others. So the first ones we planted were the cowpea cowpeas, and we put 5 rows right here, although it just looks like one contiguous pea patch at this point. Now as you look out there, you'll see where some of these vines have been trampled as we've been walking around out there doing some harvesting. We planted these rows a little too close and they all ran together, and the consequence is we end up stepping on a lot of the vines as we're harvesting. So that's what they look like when they're fresh and green, and we've harvested some of them that way, but at this point we're kind of letting the rest of them out here dry, and I need to come out here and pick these dry pods later this afternoon. So the rest of these will be used for seed that we sell on our site, and also we'll eat some of the dried ones as well. We'll just rehydrate them and cook them that way. And just in case you're wondering, here's what the cowpea looks like, fresh versus dried. So those larger green ones are the fresh ones, and those little brown ones are the ones that have dried in the pot. And I had someone the other day asking, do you have to harvest them fresh or can you let them all dry? Yes, you can let them all dry. A lot of people like to harvest them fresh and freeze them that way. We've done a lot of that over the years. You can also just let them all dry on the plants there, harvest those dried pods, shell them out, and store them just like you would any other dried bean or pea. Now, as we look at all these peas today, you will notice that all of them have some level of rust on the leaves, probably due to how long it stayed hot and humid around here on into early October. Now these cowpea peas here seem to have gotten the rust worse than any of the other varieties we have growing right now. Could be a variety thing, could be just based on the fact that these were planted earlier, so they've been out here longer and the rust has taken its toll even more. So the rust has been a little rough on these, and that's definitely impacted our production, but the bugs haven't been too bad on this variety this year. Take a look at those 2 pods right there. We can see a few sting marks on those, but not that bad compared to what we're used to dealing with down here. So they got after them a little bit, but not terrible. Now the second variety we planted shortly after those cowpea peas was this Ozark razorback cowpea. Now this variety will climb a trellis pretty well if you give it one, and I've trellised it in the past. This year I decided not to even fool with a trellis, and we just let them grow on the ground. Now they've done pretty well not being trellised. We can still see all the peas standing up there on top of the plants. Now you can see there once again pretty good bit of rust on the leaves there. All the peas we have growing right now have rust on the leaves, and these seem to have gotten a little more bug attention than the cowpea. We can see a couple right there that are doing their thing, chowing down on that pod. If we compare those cowpea pods I showed you earlier with these right here, the Ozark razorback, you can see a lot more sting marks on those pods there. So for whatever reason, they've been munching on these more than the cowpea. Now, despite the bug attention, we're still getting some beautiful peas off these. That's what they look like when they're fresh right there. The color is not quite as dark. You can see that beautiful mosaic pattern on those, and then we let them dry. They look like that right there. Probably one of the prettiest peas out there in my opinion. And these are loaded up pretty good right now, enough for a good, big, fresh picking. So I imagine we'll be able to get some of these in the freezer in the next week or so. Right here is the third variety we planted, this Tennessee purple pea. This is a variety sent to me by Richard in Tennessee several years ago. He didn't have a name for it, so we just called it the Tennessee purple pea. Now, this is a climbing variety as well. Obviously, as you see here, this year I chose not to trellis it, and that was a mistake. So while we can get away with not trellising that Ozark Razorback, as I showed you earlier, this Tennessee purple pea here really needs to be grown on a trellis. It will do a lot better. You'll be able to see the peas a lot better, and I think it will be more productive, or it has been more productive in past years when I grew it on a trellis. However, worth noting, if you grow one of these climbing varieties like this Tennessee purple pea here, don't trellis it, just grow it on the ground like we have. It will provide some phenomenal ground cover, probably the best ground cover of all the varieties we have planted here. So if you wanted to grow this as a cover crop, suppress weeds, and still be able to come out here and harvest some peas, it's not a bad option. Now, once again, just like all the other varieties, we can see some rust on these, but overall, the rust isn't as bad on these as it is some of those other varieties. Now, if we look down in here, you can see what I'm talking about, the consequence of not trellising these. Unlike the Ozark Razorback, where the peas are kind of sitting on top of the plant, because these vine so much, a lot of those peas are stuck down in there, really hard to find. Now, on the end of the planting here, we can see a lot of those peas on top. Just can't really see them in the middle there. And with this variety, you really want to try and wait until those holes turn kind of purplish like we see there. So as they sit on the plant, they'll go from green to kind of that purple color. And as those pods darken, so will the peas inside. So those come from a pod that was still kind of green. These here from a pod that was turning purple. And if you let them completely dry on the plant, they'll turn pitch black like those right there. And not only has the rust not been as bad on these, the pest pressure hasn't been as rough on these here. Really not a whole lot of sting marks on any of these pods out here. Now, because we didn't trellis these and a lot of those pods are hidden in all that foliage there, we probably won't get a huge fresh harvest off these. Probably got enough right there for a nice pot for supper one night, but the rest of these we'll probably have to let those dry. We can see them better. We'll just harvest them dry, save some for seeds, and then we'll just have to rehydrate them when we go to cook them. So those first three are varieties we usually carry on our website. This last one I'm going to show you is one that we don't carry. However, it's probably one of my favorite cowpea / field pea varieties to eat. The problem is, it's also the bug's favorite. So here we've got 2 rows of zipper cream peas, and I only planted 2 rows of these because I just kind of knew exactly what was going to happen. That right there was going to happen. So for whatever reason, the bugs just annihilate these things, and I don't know what that bug was there that just flew off. Hasn't been a lot of the P. curculio this year, which usually plagues them. It's been a bunch of different bugs out here feeding on these things. And as you can see right there, as these pods are turning, we usually like to wait until these turn kind of a pale yellow color. As those pods are turning, they just get absolutely annihilated. That one there's got sting marks all over. And here we go again. Those guys there are just having them a block party on that pot. So what I'm going to have to do on these is just pick these a little earlier than what I like to pick them. So I usually like to wait until the pods, like I said, turn a little bit yellow like those right there. They're a lot easier to shell that way. But that's when they just get blistered by the bugs. So if I pick them green like this, a little harder to shell, which you can see a big difference between that pod and that pod down there that's been stung all over. And I'm not super picky. I mean, I'll eat some peas with a few sting marks on them, but some of these you can see they look pretty dang rough. I don't know that I want to eat that one there on the bottom. Now these here actually look pretty good. We can see a lot of sting marks on that pod right there. A few on those peas, but not bad. I would definitely eat those right there. So they may be getting the pod more than they are the pea on some of these. Those right there look quite tasty. So we may actually be able to salvage more of those zipper peas than I thought, but you can see a big difference there from one variety to the next. For whatever reason, the bugs love those zipper cream peas just as much as we do. Now let's talk about what we could have done different here, maybe to get some better looking peas and a better harvest. So the rust issues we're seeing there, that's always something that can happen on peas or beans when we plant them in the late summer for a fall harvest. And some years that rust will be pretty minimal, some years that rust can be pretty bad like it is this year. Just depends on how long it stays hot and humid. And we could have mitigated that rust by spraying a fungicide. We could have sprayed some liquid copper on those plants and the rust wouldn't have been as bad, but that gives you an idea of what it can look like if you don't spray. And I'm not saying you should or shouldn't spray. I just wanted to show you what it looks like when we don't and we have a really long summer. That rust can get pretty bad. Now, as far as the bugs go, I don't know of any organic insecticides that work that great on cowpeas. There might be a few things you could use that might kill a couple of the different insect species we have feeding on those peas, but from my experiences, you spray anything organic on cowpeas and most of the bugs out there just laugh at you. Now, I know there are some synthetic options out there. I don't really know the names of them all, but if you're interested and you're comfortable using those, you can Google cowpea insecticides or insecticides for cowpea pests and see what's out there and then see what you can find and see if you're comfortable using it in your garden. Now, for me, our main weapon against cowpea pests is planting timing. So if we plant in the spring, the pests will be even worse than they are out there now. I know it may look pretty bad now, but it's not near as bad as it would be in the spring. So planting in late summer for a fall harvest gives us much less pest pressure. As a result, instead of having complete obliteration out there, like I showed you, we're still going to get some decent pea harvest here. We're going to have some damaged peas that we find when we shell these things, but we're still going to get plenty of peas. If we plant in the spring, a lot of these peas will just be stung beyond salvage. So that's what can happen if we don't spray our garden. And I wanted to use cowpeas as a specific example here. We hear a lot of times people saying, well, if you do this with your soil, if you have this right in your soil, you won't have to deal with any pest issues. The pests won't eat a healthy plant and all that kind of stuff. And I think that does work for some veggies. For example, right here behind me, I've got some pepper plants that have been here since the spring. I really haven't fertilized them. They're green, as productive as they can be. Haven't had any pest issues. I know I've got some really healthy soil here, and those pepper plants are just thriving on that healthy soil. The bugs haven't bothered them one bit. We haven't sprayed those either. But some vegetables or some crops are targeted by the pests much more than others. Down here in the south, the pests love these cowpeas. The cowpeas love our climate and our sandy soil, but the pests also love them too, and it's hard to grow them without a little bit of pest damage. So be careful what you read or see out there as far as how to reduce pests by building healthy soil and growing healthy plants. I think it definitely works for some things, doesn't work as well for other things. So we can't just give a blanket statement on that idea or that practice. Because if you want to grow cowpeas down here, even in the fall, and have no sting damage on those pods, you're going to have to spray them with something. You cannot spray them except a little bit of sting damage like we have this fall, be just fine. But if you want no sting damage at all, you're going to have to get the chemicals out. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Me personally, I'm not anti-spray, but I do try to minimize my spraying and keep it organic when I do spray. I do believe that healthy plants are more tolerant of pest pressure, but I also see that some plants are going to get attacked by pests no matter what you do. And if you want to know more about cowpeas and why they're a great thing to plant in the late summer when it's so hot you can't plant much else, watch this video right here that we did back when we planted some of these. We'll tell you all the great things about cowpeas. So check that out, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.